And I kept telling him that I was pregnant, and he pushed me against his cop car.
Now on GMU at 6, claims of misconduct against Salt Lake police. Here, one family claims they called police for help, but they got detained instead.
And Utahns honoring the man killed in Minneapolis by police Sunday. Why the mayor won't allow the officer who shot him to resign.
And then powerful wind gusts and rain battered parts of northern Utah overnight. We'll have live team coverage of what to expect in this morning's windy conditions.
Plus, that high wind warning remains in effect through the morning hours. We're breaking down the full forecast coming up.
Live from Utah's first TV station, Good Morning Utah at 6 starts now.
Good morning, Utah. I'm Rosie Nguyen in for Sarah Martin.
And I'm Brian Carlson. The time is 6 o'clock on this Wednesday. And we start this morning with strong winds blowing through northern Utah.
Right now, there is a high wind warning in effect from Bountiful to Logan and a wind advisory for the Salt Lake Valley.
So powerful wind gusts, rain and snow overnight even caused dangerous road conditions. Here's how it looked around 1 a.m. in Farmington, right there on US 89 at Park Lane. And you can see how strong the winds were blowing. It even looked like it took out the traffic signals at that intersection. So we have team coverage of today's powerful winds. ABC4's Jared Giacchini is live in Davis County with how it's affecting the roads there this morning. And meteorologist Adam Carroll tracking where you'll see those winds today.
But first, we begin with meteorologist Cesar Cornejo, who is out live in Weber County with the winds and power outages where we are expecting it to be in the area. So, Cesar, what are you seeing out there, or what do we know so far?
Rosie, it has been a very blustery and gusty morning so far. Gusts are peaking around 80 miles an hour here by the mouth of Weber Canyon. Plenty of strong winds are still expected for us, and Rocky Mountain Power so far is actually reporting over 40 power outages affecting over 2,000 customers in northern Utah so far. This is just expected to continue as we do have these strong gusty conditions really making their way over the Wasatch Front so far right now. It's very, very windy once again. These conditions continue to intensify for us, not only just this morning, but also going into a little bit later to the afternoon as that high wind warning continues for us. Live in South Weber, meteorologist Cesar Cornejo, back to the studio.
Thank you, Cesar. We continue our team coverage now with ABC4's Jared Giacchini, who is live in Farmington monitoring the strong winds for us this morning. Hi, Jared.
Hey, Rosie, good morning. Yeah, these strong wind gusts really whipping through parts of Farmington here this morning, prompting travel restrictions on I-15 both directions from Bountiful to Kaysville for high-profile vehicles. So it's semi-trucks, cars towing trailers, RVs, light trucks, any type of vehicle that covers a large surface out on the roadway. The fear is that these cars could potentially tip over. It is an honor code for these cars not to be traveling, but on Legacy Parkway, these cars are prohibited, and UHP is out in full force making sure that these cars are not traveling. So be extra mindful as you plan on heading out this morning. Other passenger vehicles, be mindful to take it slow because these wind gusts really whipping through here, making it difficult for me to stand, my photographer to stand, breathe in some points. So only imagine these vehicles that are, traveling 60 plus miles per hour out on the roadway can create for some dangerous conditions this morning. But definitely a double punch of strong winds and rain and snow really whipping through parts of Davis County this morning. Live, Jared Giacchini, ABC4 News.
It's a couple different places out there. You're seeing Jared out there with those winds there in Farmington, but Cesar up there in, I believe, what is that, Weber Canyon, and the winds really whipping up right there, Adam.
Very, very windy spot here across northern Utah, and mainly because these east winds, it is just right to come straight down that canyon, and right at the mouth is where they come to a point where they're at their absolute strongest. So Weber Canyon has seen some incredible gusts over the last several hours here here in northern Utah, where a lot of the morning they've been in the upper 70s to low 80s with regards to gusts, but 84 has been their highest this morning, 79 in and around where Jared's been, 62 northern Brigham City, 62 in Centerville, 59 Logan and U of U, 56 Hillsborough Air Force Base, Richmond, Legacy Parkway, 55, Far West, 52, and we're continuing to see those strong gusts out there right now. You can see where we're finding those gusts all the way over from Evanston down to the U of U and all the way up to Logan here at this hour, and they're continuing to be from the east. And those east winds here will bring in those 65 to 80 mile an hour gusts at times. Most of the area, though, will see the 40 to 55 mile per hour gusts. But I-15, US 89, 91, and Legacy Parkway remain in a dangerous crosswind situation. Additional power outages are possible to go with the property damage and tree damage possibilities as well. But the high wind warning remains in effect through 9 and noon time, depending on where you are, with a wind advisory for Salt Lake, mainly for the east benches, as we're seeing 50 mile per hour gusts in and around like Harley's Canyon, also around southern Idaho. As we move through the hours, though, here, we're continuing to see the winds more or less relax over the next several hours, and eventually we'll only be talking about 20s, 30s, and a few 40 mile per hour gusts out there as well, all the way through the noon hour as we start looking at a shift in the winds to more of a southerly wind out there as well across northern Utah. But traffic has been a concern here this morning. We have the restrictions in place here along I-15 in Davis County. You can see those right here as we zoom in on those. There are not incidents, they're just restrictions, so high-profile vehicles and semis, look out.
Thank you, Adam. And you can count on ABC4 for continuing coverage of today's windstorm. Stay with us for updates live on air and online at abc4.com.
And in new developments, the family involved in a SWAT standoff over the weekend in Salt Lake City is now claiming they're the victims of police misconduct. On Monday, we reported the father had a protective order against him, allegedly took his own son and wouldn't give him back. But we interviewed the Yanagi family, who now says they were the ones who called police to deal with the child's mother being unruly. When Salt Lake police responded and the standoff ensued, officers tried to arrest the father. His sister, who is pregnant, says she was pushed against a police car and was used as a bargaining chip to get the rest of the family to come out of the house.
I think they handled this situation terribly. We called them for help and we weren't even protected. They violated all of our rights. We were arrested when we were calling them for help.
Now, Salt Lake police gave ABC4 News the following statement, quote, "As this is an open and active investigation, we cannot provide any more detail about what occurred that night. A review of any force used will be conducted by 2 separate supervisors, as is required with all uses of force per department policy." For more on this story, just go to our website, abc4.com.
New developments in the Lower Mccluskey case. The former chief of University of Utah Police and 4 other former officers who resigned amid the criticism say they were not treated fairly by the school during the investigation. Now they want the university to pay them millions of dollars. Former U of U Police Chief Del Brophy and former officer Miguel Darras, along with 3 others, filed a notice of claim seeking $10 million in damages from the university. They argue they have been, quote, rendered unemployable as a result of claims made by the university.
Utah's Department of Health now warning, beware of fake mask exemption cards. Here's an example of what they look like. And the health department says watch out for these cards. They even appear to have the state of Utah's seal on them. They say people are making these cards and presenting them to schools and businesses, claiming they're exempt from wearing a mask. The health department says they don't make these type of cards.
We have new information in the case of a UTA rider allegedly threatening a train host Saturday after being asked to turn down his music and wear a mask. Prosecutors formally filed multiple charges against 39-year-old Adam Green, including aggravated assault and use or possession of drug paraphernalia. Police say they arrested Green after he tried to leave the scene when being investigated, became combative when he was being searched, and admitted to threatening to kill the train host.
And the U.S. now recommending a pause on distributing the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine over concerns with blood clots. Those clots form in the brain's sinuses, referred to as CVST, and they can cause serious issues, including strokes. These kind of blood clots are extremely rare. The CDC and the FDA, however, they're investigating whether the Johnson & Johnson vaccine can cause a very small number of Americans to develop CVST. As of Monday, 6.8 million people in the U.S. have received the Johnson & Johnson shot, and only 6 people reported having blood clots.
The Utah Department of Health says the state's vaccine distribution shouldn't take a major hit from that pause on Johnson & Johnson. The vast majority of doses administered here are from Pfizer and Moderna. And even though the pause could slow things down, health officials say it's the right thing to do. In a statement released Tuesday, the department says, quote, "It's critical the public be confident in the COVID-19 vaccines. And in order to build and maintain that confidence, reports like these must be taken seriously and fully investigated to determine what role, if any, the vaccine played." They say nearly 77,000 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine have been administered in Utah, which is about 4% of all doses. So far, there have been no reports of blood clots. So what should you do if you've received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine? Health experts say monitor your symptoms for 3 weeks after you've received the shot. And if you experience any unusual side effects like a severe headache, abdominal or leg pain, or shortness of breath, they advise you to call your doctor.
Time now 6:11, and new this morning, Utah will soon have 2 new state parks. Yesterday, Governor Spencer Cox signed House Bill 257 into law. It created both the Utah Raptor and the Lost Creek State Parks. Utah Raptor State Park will be in Grand County, just northeast of Moab, and Lost Creek State Park will be in Morgan County. Utah Raptor State Park is named after our state dinosaur and will be the only place in North America where visitors can find the raptor species.
Time now is 6:11. Coming up next on Good Morning Utah, Utahns honoring the man killed in Minneapolis by police Sunday. Why the mayor won't allow the officer who shot him to resign. And don't move a muscle. How you can help fend off an invasive species when you take your boat for a spin this summer.
Time now for your weather on the 4s.
All right, let's check your weather on the 4s here, Adam. It's another windy one out there this morning.
Brian, we've got wind, we've got rain, we've got snow, we've got fire concerns, okay, and colder temperatures. Pretty much everything going on in the next couple of days. But you know what? It's Utah and it's April. And
you know what?
pretty much what happens.
We've got weather Yahtzee. That's what it is.
We do, and I think we're going to win today here with regards to weather because we have so much going on. It's almost so much that you can't cover it all here in such a small period of time, but it's still very, very windy across southwest Wyoming, around Logan and Wendover. Those are some of the higher sustained wind speeds. You can see a little bit less around Salt Lake and Provo, but Salt Lake wasn't supposed to see a ton of wind from this wind event. It was primarily north and east of Salt Lake, but 42 is the temperature in Salt Lake, 37 Wendover, 41 Milford, 60 though still in St. George, 43 Moab, and 19 in Rock Springs. You tack on those cold temperatures to go with the sustained winds, which is how wind chill is measured, to go with those real field temperatures, and yeah, it's 2-degree temperature in Rock Springs and 3 in Evanston, 24 in Logan. It's very cold. It's more wintry than anything else in terms of the temperatures outside when you add the wind chill. And southwest winds across the southern areas of the state are 25 to 35 sustained today, gusts to 50. That leads to red flag warning through 9 p.m. tonight. Southwestern portions of the state over to eastern sides of Utah. And boy, is eastern Utah going to whip here this afternoon. Look at those winds. Excuse me, as we head through pretty much the rest of the day. We'll get into the 50 excuse me, mile per hour gusts at times as we roll through the hours. We're looking at 50s here for southeastern Utah, and also mainly 20s, 30s, and 40s, but boy, 50s across Monticello, Blanding, Lake Powell at times. Area low pressure is really the culprit of all of our weather that we're having out there right now. And you can see snow, rain falling here across Nevada, northern Utah, but not a lot going on across southern Utah. That's actually going to be the case here moving forward. But look at what's happening on Storm Tracker radar. Yeah, mainly in our mountains are we seeing the snow, but excuse me, got something caught in my throat. We've got the rain falling here along the western sides of the state, and then into Nevada, Elko, where it's snowing in Elko right now. Also in Logan. It's a crazy weather day. Winter weather advisories are up here for our mountains, up to 10 inches in places like the Uinta Basin and also in the Cottonwoods. But as we move through time, we're going to see the winds very, very strong here across eastern and southern Utah here today. And then, of course, the rain and snow across northern Utah, very, very snowy here across southwestern Wyoming. And then it will continue to wrap itself around over the next 2 days, but it will continue to progress eastward here and then wrap itself back around here again for tomorrow and then again on Friday. So it's very scattered about, but it's going to be intermittent showers here all the way through Thursday. We still have the high wind warnings in effect here across northern Utah today, and we have 51 in Salt Lake, 72 St. George, 56 Delta, and we may even see a few rumbles of thunder. For the 7-day forecast in St. George shows low 70s, breezy to windy at times, high fire danger, mostly sunny though. Excuse me. Dry though out there as well, so that's going to be a problem. For the Wasatch Front, strong morning winds, and then they'll eventually relax. We'll stay in the low 50s out there today, and then that will be the case through Friday, but we'll see off and on rain showers today, then more rain, snow tomorrow, especially in the benches, and then a much better weekend. For the traffic concerns out there, well, I got to tell you this, this I-84 incident has closed the westbound side of I-84, and that's a problem because they've got multiple accidents here on westbound I-84, and then we also have a closure of I-80 westbound here around the Foothill Drive area, and this is kind of where the accident is here, and it doesn't look good because you have to be rerouted on 215 before you can get back onto westbound I-80 again. So this is something to keep in mind, and that's going to delay you a little bit here this morning until they got that cleaned up.
Utah's boating season is just around the corner, and when you start taking your boat out for a spin, it is easy for invasive species like mussels to stick to the side of your boat. It could cost the state millions of dollars each year to remove those species from our water systems, which could result in higher utility fees for all of us in the state. Utah's Division of Wildlife Resources created a new cost-efficient way to decontaminate your boats to keep our bodies of water clean and safe. Joining us now to explain is Nathan Owens, the Aquatic Invasive Species Coordinator for Utah's Division of Wildlife Resources. Nathan, good to see you and thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Nathan, can you tell us about the new dip tank method that your agency is using to decontaminate boats and help fight invasive quagga mussel?
Yeah, this is something we're really excited about. The last several years, we've seen this trend at Lake Powell with more people coming there every year to boat. They're bringing more complex boats every year that require additional attachments for us to decontaminate, additional training for our folks to decontaminate, and largely leading to longer lines for everyone. We knew that we couldn't continue business as usual, so we were able to pursue this idea that has been brewing for a number of years now, basically using a giant tank full of hot water, having boaters back their boats down into this tank, and then activate all those systems simultaneously to completely rid those systems of all quagga mussel veligers or larval mussels in these systems. So it essentially takes that complex process of decontaminating some of these wakeboard boats down from 40 minutes to an hour all the way down to under 10 minutes.
Wow. Okay. So you talked a little bit about this, but how does this tank make the process more effective and convenient for everyone involved?
So this system allows us to decontaminate all of those raw water systems simultaneously. Before, based on the water flow of our decontamination units, the different attachments needed for ballast tanks, engines, those types of things, we had to do each one of those individually, and the pumps we were using were far less efficient and powerful. Now we're leveraging the technology that's really quite impressive in a lot of these newer boats and using that to our advantage to make sure that we get all of these systems decontaminated at once a lot more quickly.
Where will this new tank be installed and when will it be operational?
This tank will be installed at State Line Launch Ramp at Wahweap Marina at Lake Powell. We've been working with the National Park Service at Glen Canyon National Recreation Area. They've done a lot of the site prep. They've actually dug the site for us with funding from the Bureau of Reclamation and our legislature. We were able to fabricate this thing. It was transported down to Lake Powell the last day or two. It is currently in the hole with all those systems being installed right now. So it is ready to go and offer these services to the public May 1st.
I wish we had more time. I have more questions to ask you, but if you need more information, head over to our website, abc4.com. We'll link you over to them to get more information. You've been hearing from Nathan Owens, the Aquatic Invasive Species Coordinator for Utah's DWR. Nathan, thank you for being here. It was great to have you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rosie. The time now 6:22. Up next on GMU, the toilet paper frenzy of our pandemic now finally dying down. See how much toilet paper sales have dropped in your Good Morning Utah business report. And protecting your home from a fire. See how the Utah Red Cross is making a big effort to help you. Next, in a live interview.
Time now for your weather on the 4s.
Well, we're still talking about the high wind warnings here this morning, and we're continuing to see the 70 and 80 mile per hour gusts around the mouth of Weber Canyon, which is exactly where we have our Cesar Cornejo this morning, talking about the conditions out there right now, as well as Jared and the restrictions along I-15. But wind advisories remain in effect here for Salt Lake, especially the east benches. We've seen wind gusts over 50 miles per hour around Parley's Canyon here this morning, as well as the southern Idaho area, where we're seeing 50+ mile an hour gusts. 51 though in Salt Lake today, 47 in Logan, Elko, 37 in Rock Springs. We've got some snow across the portions of southwest Wyoming as well as our mountains. That's going to lead to some accumulation out there. But St. George, nothing but mostly sunny skies, breezy to windy conditions, and cooler temperatures in the low 70s compared to yesterday's low 80s, and really just staying dry, but the high fire danger for the Wasatch Front. The winds will start to relax here mid-morning for most, but noontime for the rest. And that means pretty much around the Weber Canyon and Farmington areas. But we'll stay cooler. We'll stay in the low 50s here. Rain and snow showers will be kind of intermittent over the next couple of days. The snow will be primarily on the benches, but we'll continue to start looking at better weather for the weekend and beyond, with temperatures back into the 60s. We still got the restrictions here along I-15. We've got the foothill problem that they have a westbound closure there, but we're going to go into northern Utah first, and we're going to highlight the I-84 section, which has got multiple accidents along I-84 westbound here from about exit 40 all the way up to exit 32. It's kind of a mess going on up on I-84 westbound. And then this is kind of the vicinity of the accident here on I-80 eastbound at Foothill Drive. Road closure, you're going to have to seek an alternate route, but they're saying we get rerouted along 215 this morning.
All right, it's time to start thinking about protecting your home from a fire. That's the focus of the Utah Red Cross's Sound the Alarm campaign. They say house fires are the deadliest disaster they deal with each year. And last year, they responded to 180 house fires and helped 344 Utah families affected by those fires. So volunteers with the Red Cross have now saved over 800 lives since the Sound the Alarm campaign started back in 2014. Joining me to explain what the Red Cross wants you to know is Heidi Ruster, the Regional Director of the Utah Red Cross. Heidi, thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
You're sounding the alarm.
We are. It's just extremely important that we let people know that house fires are one of the most common disasters, and one needs to be prepared both for themselves and for their families.
So what's the main message you want people to know?
So we would like them to make sure they have a fire escape plan, and that they talk to their family, and that they check their sound the alarm on a monthly basis. And we have an opportunity to work with them, their homes made safer, through a virtual 20-minute conversation with their family to make sure they're as safe as they can be.
So it's not just something that you hear about on the news or you see on a website. You can actually talk with someone from the Red Cross who can help you develop a plan. Is that basically what you're saying here?
That's exactly it. So we set up an appointment for 20 minutes max, and we talk to the family about what does their house look like, how do they escape most effectively, need to have 2 exits, and be able to get out of the house within 2 minutes. I mean, the house can go up really quickly.
What's your experience been as far as how important it is to have that escape plan ahead of time?
It's extremely important. There's unfortunately significant numbers of fatalities throughout the country because people don't have these plans in place or their smoke alarms aren't working. So it is important every day to make sure the whole family is aware of where those 2 exits are, what that plan is, and know that it's happening.
You know, there was a story we did a number of years ago where I went with a family, sure, and we set off their smoke alarm just so they could test with their kids' reaction time. And they discovered that when they were trying to develop this escape plan, that they weren't as quick as they thought they were.
Right, and I think that's why it's so important that there's a regular conversation with the full family about what to do and how to do it. And even where do you go when you go outside of the house?
Where do you meet?
Where do you meet? That's extremely important. So, and we'll have that conversation, and then we'll set up an appointment for a smoke alarm installation when everything is safe to do so.
Now, going back to the smoke alarm, you mentioned that you want us to test it once a month. That's more than I think people expect.
Absolutely. We always push it when we have the time change, right? Twice a year, that's a big push. But really, to make sure that it works on a regular basis, it is best to check it on a monthly basis.
All right, so again, that good reminder there. That's where that virtual person you can talk to with the Red Cross can help you through it.
Absolutely.
How do they connect with them?
So they can go to soundthealarm.org/Utah and set up a quick 20-minute appointment, and we would love to have that conversation and really be able to customize the plan and what your family can do to be the safest.
You can find out all the information, of course, on our website, abc4.com/GMU. Talking with the Regional Director with the Utah Red Cross, Heidi Russer. As always, a pleasure seeing you, Heidi.
Nice to see you, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Heidi. All right, the time now is 6:30. Still ahead on Good Morning Utah. Strong winds blowing through parts of northern Utah. This is a look at Farmington. We will have live team coverage to monitor the conditions outside. Plus the windy weather causing dangerous conditions with power outages, road restrictions, and more. The latest updates from Utah's Division of Emergency Management in a live interview. And as we head to break, we leave you with a live look at our doTERRA downtown camera, that beautiful shot of our downtown skyline. Meteorologist Adam Carroll will have your weather on the 4s after the break.
Live from Utah's first TV station, Good Morning Utah at 6:30 starts now.
Good morning, Utah. I'm Rosie Nguyen in for Sarah Martin.
And I'm Brian Carlson. The time is 6:32 on this Wednesday. We start this half hour with strong winds blowing through northern Utah.
Right now there is a high wind warning in effect from Bountiful to Logan and a wind advisory for the Salt Lake Valley. So let's get to those powerful wind gusts and rain causing dangerous conditions overnight. This is a look at US 89 at Park Lane in Farmington around 1 o'clock this morning. You can see how strong winds even cause signal problems for those traffic lights. We have team coverage of today's powerful winds. ABC4's Jared Jotnini is live in Davis County monitoring how those gusts could impact your morning commute. Meteorologist Adam Carroll is tracking where you'll see those winds today.
But we begin with meteorologist Cesar Cornejo out live in Weber County with those winds and the power outages we're expecting there. Cesar, the wind out there sounds fierce.
Brian, it is extremely blustery and gusty, and yes, fierce is a good way to classify what we have out here right now. The gusts have been strong throughout the morning, ranging around 70 to 80 miles per hour. And if we look right above, we can actually see the upper winds aloft right now are racing over top of the Wasatch Front. That's actually what's really creating a lot of these conditions. And what has this done so far in the terms of damage? Well, a few downed power lines, trash cans blowing around, but the reports will continue to pour in as more people are waking up and also observing the damage that has happened overnight. So far right now, Rocky Mountain Power is reporting around 60 outages affecting over 1,000 customers in the northern Utah area along Weber County, Davis County, and Salt Lake County. So Power outages are still occurring. Winds continue to be on the strong side. Especially with this high wind warning still lasting until this evening, we can expect to really still be in these strong windy conditions. Live in South Weber, meteorologist Cesar Cornejo. Back to the studio.
Thank you for the heads up there, Cesar. We continue our team coverage with ABC4's Jared Giacinini. He's live in Farmington with how strong winds are affecting your morning commute. We see the winds are whipping up there too, Jared.
Sure are, Brian. Double punch of wind and rain this morning. The wind not only impacting travel, but also power on this portion of Farmington off Park Lane at the Chevron. Take a look just in the past few minutes. Power went out at this Charlie's Market where the Chevron gas station is. Also, traffic lights on this portion of the road are out, creating problems for drivers this morning. Now, these strong wind gusts, as we mentioned, creating difficulties for high-profile vehicles out on the roadway. The Utah Department of Transportation asking large vehicles, semi-trucks, RVs, vehicles towing trailers to not travel on I-15 from Bountiful to Kaysville. It's a recommendation for folks to avoid that area, but Legacy Parkway, also in Davis County, travel for those types of vehicle is prohibited, and UHP troopers are out in full force making sure people are taking it slow. The big fear is that these large vehicles could tip over. These wind gusts are so strong in some areas that they could tip over on their side, creating dangerous driving conditions. Other vehicles are asked to take it slow and to avoid signage, because when these winds really get going, it makes it difficult to, for a person to stand, see, also breathe it sometimes, let alone a vehicle traveling about 60 miles per hour. But again, power outages here at this gas station off Park Lane, off I-15 in Farmington. Also road restrictions on I-15. So if you're just waking up this morning, joining us live, be mindful if you have a morning commute to be extra cautious as you hit the roads this morning. Live, Jared Giacinini, ABC4 News.
Definitely not a day to do your hair today, and Jared knew. He knew it was coming. He just let the hair fly.
Well, you got to. I mean, what
you don't
else
have a choice.
Well, what are you going to do, right? The winds are going to make it happen anyways. But guys, we're seeing downslope winds. This is what we call them here as they come off the mountains and downslope into places like Farmington and Weber Canyon. So you've got strong upper level winds flowing over the mountains, something Cesar mentioned here. They showed that in that live shot. And then you also got much cooler air located at the top of the mountain. But what happens is the air's got to go somewhere. The winds have to go somewhere. So as the winds descend down the mountain, they compress and they warm, and it actually becomes very damaging in some instances, as we know from September of 2020. Now, it sounds like we're going to at least miss that part of this storm in terms of the damaging part of this thing for the most part, but this is kind of what we see for a lot of the year in Salt Lake, these random 50, 60 mile per hour downslope wind events that sometimes can get a lot stronger, like this morning. 84 mile per hour gust is kind of the winning gust so far at the mouth of Weber Canyon, where Cesar is 79 in Park Lane, where Jared is 62, Centerville. You can see the rest of these numbers in the mid-50s out there. Wind gusts still out there, continuing to blow pretty good around Farmington and Centerville and Bountiful. We've seen the power outages going on, and in that 40 to 50 mile per hour zone, we're going to continue to have this here through at least mid-morning, but the red areas are going to be that 65, 80 mile per hour areas, and the dangerous crosswinds along I-15, US 89, 91, and also Legacy Parkway. High wind warnings in effect through 9 and noon today. Wind advisories for the east benches of Salt Lake. As we move through the hours, though, we're going to continue to see the winds relax here over time. So that's something to look forward to for those that live here in and around the Davis, Weber counties, Box Elder County areas, northern Utah. All of this is going to come to an end here later this morning, and then we can kind of more or less breathe a sigh of relief for that aspect of it. But he mentioned, at least Jared mentioned, the restrictions here from Legacy Parkway all the way up to I-15, those restrictions for the semis and trucks, and that will be ongoing until further notice.
Well, this morning, strong winds could potentially create dangerous conditions for some Utahns, and that includes power outages, signal problems, and road restrictions. Joining us with the latest on the conditions is Joe Doherty with Utah's Division of Emergency Management. Joe, thanks for being here. We always appreciate your time.
Hey, good morning to another windy day.
Good morning. Joe, could we start with the travel restrictions on I-15? Why is it so important to adhere to those? And have there been any tipped semis?
Yeah, like Jared mentioned, it's really important that high profile vehicles really pay attention to those restrictions because it is so easy for those vehicles that are much taller or hauling trailers to tip over in high winds. It doesn't take much more than 65, 70 mile an hour winds to knock over a semi. And I got to tell you, as I was driving in this morning, I live in Davis County, I passed 35 beautiful semis, all upright, all parked, all waiting for that restriction to be lifted. So as of right now, I'm aware of 2 semis that have tipped over and one that's jackknifed. One semi tipped over last night in Box Elder, one is jackknifed in Box Elder, and we did have one semi roll over at Parley's.
Yeah, these conditions are nothing to take lightly. Could you provide an update on any current damage or power outages caused by the windstorm right now? What are people experiencing?
Yeah, you know, this is a lot different from the 2020 windstorm. I know we'll talk about that in a second. But right now we're looking at just really only around 1,000 Rocky Mountain Rocky Mountain customers without power right now, which is so much different from 2020, where we got up to around 170,000 customers without power for many days. I think that, you know, this is a much different windstorm than what we experienced back in September. There's definitely going to be a few trampolines that have left their yards. Some garbage cans have tipped over. We've seen some vinyl fence damage, but we really don't expect to see a lot more than that.
Joe, what advice do you have for Utahns living in areas that is at risk for power outages right now? What can they do to prepare?
Yeah, so right now the wind is still coming. We're under these warnings, so it's a little hard to do your preparedness now, and that's why we tell people it's never too late to prepare until it is. So right now, let's start your checklist for the next windstorm or the next power outage event. A few things you want to keep in mind. Some people would really love to rely on candles to provide light in their homes, but just remember, you're adding an extra risk of fire in your home. So a better option would be a battery-powered lantern. Make sure that you have some extra batteries on hand to power that lantern for when those batteries run out. Really, that's one of the main things that people want, is they just want to see. And you really don't want to have to rely on your cell phone flashlight while you're trying to maneuver around your house. So an extra source of heat is always helpful. But again, you don't want to bring something that's combustible into your home, like a grill or something like that. So remember, extra blankets, make sure those parkas are still available.
Joe, we have to wrap pretty soon here, but I want to get this question in. How does this storm compare to the windstorm of September 2020?
Yeah, like I mentioned, so we saw a lot more damage. We had thousands of tons of debris that were generated that the state helped residents haul from neighborhoods from Salt Lake all the way up through Davis and Weber counties last fall. And so this was just a much different event. Back then, I think our highest gust was around 97 miles an hour. Today, we've seen a gust around 84 miles an hour. So a much smaller event, definitely something more manageable for everybody. And no doubt some people are going to be waking up shortly and finding out that they've lost a few things here and there. But I think we're going to get through this one just fine.
Thank you for putting all of this into perspective. You've been hearing from Joe Doherty with Utah's Division of Emergency Management. Joe, thank you for joining us. We always appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And you can count on ABC4 for continuing coverage of today's storm. Stay with us for updates live on air and online at abc4.com.
Time now 6:43. Coming up on GMU, the Minneapolis area is still on edge following the deadly police shooting of a black man at a traffic stop. Hear what charges the officer could face. Plus, Utah getting 2 new state parks. See where you can find them and why one is the first of its kind.
Time now for Utah's most accurate forecast with Adam Carroll, Weather Rate certified 10 years in a row.
All right, it's time for weather with meteorologist Adam Carroll. And Adam, we are seeing hurricane strength winds this morning.
We are, yep. We are seeing 84-mile-per-hour gusts here in Weber Canyon. That, at the mouth of Weber Canyon, I should say, a hurricane force strength is actually a Category 174. So, yeah, we are looking at some very strong winds this morning here throughout portions of the Wasatch Front. We're also seeing snow here coming down at a pretty good clip in Elko right now. And actually, if we take a look at what's going on satellite radar, area of low pressure continuing to push our precipitation into northern Utah, also wrap around into eastern Nevada. Yeah, we've got some snow out there in Elko. We also have scattered showers and snow showers here across the area, depending on your elevation and location. But notice the snow coming down in Elko, and it's not moving very much. So we're going to continue to see that snowfall. Of course, we've got rain falling in the west deserts here, mixing at times with a little bit of snow. Snow falling in the mountains. Rain for our valleys here coming down. Light rain right now. But this is going to be the case here for the rest of the day, especially once the winds calm down. We really should see the precipitation come down a little bit heavier at times, because the winds are actually keeping it from really falling much to the surface across northern Utah. But southwest Wyoming, the Uintas, also the central Wasatch Mountains, including the Cottonwoods, have the potential to see up to 10 inches of snow here over the next couple of days as we continue to see the rain and snowfall here for valleys and mountains. But 21 in Evanston, 19 Rock Springs, 37 Price, 60 in St. George, 42 in Salt Lake. Wind gusts, though, are still going to be very, very strong across southwest Wyoming around Logan and Provo. Not so much at the airport in Salt Lake, but Wendover 31, 20 even in Cedar City. The winds across southern Utah are going to whip up to 50 miles per hour here at times, and that's going to lead to red flag warnings here. High fire danger, critical fire danger with low relative humidities. As we move through time across northern Utah, southern Utah, we're seeing some of these winds into the 50s, and even places like Monticello, upper 50s heading into the afternoon hours. But overall, this is going to be bad news for any new fire starts, because it's going to spread pretty rapidly with those types of winds. And as those winds continue to whip in the south and east, we're seeing that wraparound moisture here, and really snow developing heavy at times this afternoon across Wyoming into our mountains, and then rain here for our valleys. Benches may be mixing with a little bit of snow as well, but notice that wraparound as that low continues to track off to the east. It'll continue to bring that wraparound back in here even into tomorrow. So we're staying cool, we're staying unsettled, and tomorrow better shot to see that rain, snow even for some valley locations in northern Utah before Friday more or less becomes more isolated or scattered out there. 51 in Salt Lake today. We actually do have the opportunity to see some rumbles of thunder here in some parts of the state, also including the Wasatch Front. But St. George, you'll 72, will stay in the low 70s, breezy to windy at times, high fire danger, and then we'll start warming things back up for the latter half of the weekend. For the Wasatch Front, cool and unsettled, winds kind of more or less relax here later this afternoon. And then we'll actually more or less just be in and out of showers thereafter through Friday. A better weekend on tap, but not much in the way of additional incidents. We still have the closures up on westbound I-84 because of multiple accidents, the restrictions on I-15, but this is going to be the big culprit this morning until they get this cleaned up. I-80 eastbound closed because of an accident here throughout all lanes on I-80 eastbound. That's going to really delay you right now. You got to seek an alternate route, but you also want to tune in because in the next few minutes we'll be heading over to CW30 for more news, weather, and traffic.
Thanks for the heads up there, Adam. In your business news, buying everyday things is going to cost you more. If you're shopping for toilet paper, the frenzy to find it is finally over. Here's your Good Morning Utah business report. Shopping is getting more expensive. Consumer prices last month jumping 0.6%, the biggest monthly gain since the summer of 2012. Experts pointing to more vaccinations and stimulus money flowing into bank accounts. But they also say this kind of jump is likely temporary. And also on the rise, stock prices. The S&P 500 closing up 1/3 of a point to reach a new record high. Tech stocks fueling the run, with Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft all up. The Nasdaq gained just over 1%, while the Dow closed down 0.2%. Plus, buyers on both sides of the planet have an eye for luxury. Sales at MVMH, the company behind brands like Tiffany, Louis Vuitton, and Dior, up 30% in the first quarter of the year when compared to last year. That's nearly double estimates. Chinese and U.S. shoppers driving the sales of luxury goods. And finally, a year after the runs on toilet paper ramped up, sales are slowing, now falling below pre-pandemic levels. Nielsen IQ says sales in March were down 33% compared to last year. And that's your Good Morning Utah Business Report.
The Minneapolis area is on edge again this morning, dealing with growing anger over the deadly police shooting of a black man during a traffic stop. For the third straight night, protesters faced off with police.
Yeah, the officer, who said she mistakenly shot and killed him, has now turned in her resignation. We're expected to find out today what charges that officer may face. ABC's Kenneth Moten has the details.
Another night of unrest in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, where crowds once again gathered past curfew, protesting the death of Dante Wright, the 20-year-old unarmed black man killed by police during a traffic stop. Some demonstrators used a line of umbrellas to shield themselves as police fired flashbangs. The protest coming hours before an expected announcement today on possible charges for Wright's death. According to our Minneapolis station, KSTP, the county attorney's office is planning on charging former police officer Kim Potter today. The extent of the charges, unclear. Wright's loved ones, including the mother of his 2-year-old son, are demanding a murder charge.
Completely charged, and I just want justice for my son's dad, because it's just not fair.
Officer Potter shot and killed Wright Sunday while trying to arrest him on an outstanding warrant. Records show Wright failed to appear in court on charges of possessing a firearm without a permit and running away from law enforcement. Body camera video shows Wright trying to get back into his car during the arrest. Officer Potter is heard yelling taser, but then fires her gun. Officials call the shooting an accidental discharge. Tuesday, the 26-year veteran tried to quit, writing, "I believe it is in the best interest of the community, the department, and my fellow officers if I resign immediately." But the mayor says he has not accepted Potter's resignation amid outcry from local leaders who say she should be fired because the resignation could allow her to collect a pension. Police Chief Tim Gannon has also resigned after being criticized for the department's response. Kenneth Moten, ABC News, New York.
And today, Utahns are honoring the life of Dante Wright. A peaceful Black Lives Matter protest and candlelight vigil will be held tonight in his honor. You can see the flyer right there for it on your screen. The ceremony will begin at 6 p.m. at the Marshall White Park there in Ogden. People are asked to wear a mask. And new this morning, Utah will soon have 2 new state parks. Yesterday, Governor Spencer Cox signed House Bill 257 into law. It creates both the Utah Raptor and the Lost Creek State Parks. The Utah Raptor State Park will be in Grand County, just northeast of Moab, and the Lost Creek State Park in Morgan County. The Utah Raptor State Park is named after, of course, our state dinosaur, and will be the only place in North America where visitors can find the raptor species.
All right, let's get one last check on your pinpoint weather forecast. And Adam, talk about a windy and wet morning.
Well, yeah, we talked about this here yesterday and the day before, that we're going to continue to have those winds being issued here. Where high wind warnings continue this morning here for the next several hours. 51 in Salt Lake. We will see showers out there redeveloping throughout much of the northern portions of the state. And St. George, looking at 72. We will have some thunder showers out there as well. St. George will be very, very dry over the next 7 days in low 70s, but windy and high fire danger for the Wasatch Front. We are looking at cool and unsettled here for the next couple of days before we finally start to dry things out and see sunshine. I do need to highlight the I-80 section around Foothill Drive, because this is actually a semi whose trailer tipped over once the semi hit the concrete barrier. It's very windy out there, but it has closed this section of I-80 eastbound. You're being rerouted on 215. You either do that or seek an alternate route, but it is a mess, and it's going to take a while to clean that one up.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple of those today. You can just kind of feel. All right, it is baby birthday time. And one of the famous people with a birthday today is Baker Mayfield, the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
Go Browns.
You a Browns fan?
By association, yeah, because Jason is from Cleveland and a big Browns
fan.
fan.
All right, so Jason Wynn is a Browns fan, so therefore Rosie Nguyen is a Browns fan. Okay, all right. Fun fact about Baker, of the 14 quarterbacks drafted in the top 5 from 09 to 2018, he's the only one who's still on the same team that selected him.
Wow.
There you go. Okay. All right, so there you go. Send us your birthdays to news@abc4.com. Thanks for making this part of your morning.
And for more local news, stay with us on the CW30 at 7. If you're staying here, Good Morning America is next.